Here's a closer look at the Montessori Blue Series Reading Workbook. I've pulled out some lessons and had some of these completed so you guys can see. So some intro pages, handwriting, and sound recognition chart. So we start off with really focusing on capital letters. If you order the cursive version, this would be in cursive. So it's recognizing the capital letters, but it's also forming them correctly. So here, this area here, I have instructions on how to make a bag of, like a Ziploc bag of paint where you can practice writing the capital letters with your children using the correct strokes. And the correct strokes, there is a guide in the appendix that you can pull out, and it will also be on the back of the workbook, the last page, if you order it printed. So here was just you cut out the lowercase letters and you match them to the capital letters. And here on the back, we have some handwriting practice. Now remember, especially if you do print this yourself at home, these can all be shelf work activities. It was created as a workbook, but if you do get the digital download, this could be, you could cut these out ahead of time and have this as a work mat, and the children, and I would suggest laminating it if you're using it with multiple children, and the children can match. You would just probably want to write a control of error on the back of the card. So back here, and again, you could laminate these and have children write with a dry erase marker, or you could just provide these strips and children could make their own booklets. You would just need multiple copies. So if you are using this with more than one family, you would need a classroom license, and those are available on the website. So here, the physical workbook is not allowed to be copied, but when you do order a classroom license of the digital download, you can print as many copies as you'd like. Okay, so here, all of those are done. And then a final review. So if you look closely, these can all be traced. And then, so now we get into more of the blends, which is the focus of the Blue Series workbook, are these blending sounds, so blending consonant sounds. So here we have the word building area. So you can use your own wooden movable alphabet or whatever you have for a movable alphabet, or in the back of the workbook, which I would suggest taking these out so the child can use them alongside the workbook. But if you have to leave them in, it works too. So I have instructions here on how to just glue strips of paper to make this into little pockets for the paper movable alphabet. That does come in the appendix of the book, but I would suggest using file folders like shown here. And again, just gluing strips of paper and then cutting out the movable alphabets. We use black and red, and you just cut these out and add as many as you want to the red folder and the black folder. And then there are also capital letters because the children can start writing sentences and using capital letters for names, all in a kind of an informal way still in the Blue Series. But we're using black and red so that the blend that we're focusing on, you can see here, would be in red, and all of the other letters will be in black, so they can see the different combinations of the consonant blends. And we have some double letter sounds. We have identifying like the missing vowel. So this is going to stand for luck. This is going to stand for lick and lock. So you would need an and you could just set out the movable alphabet so the child could choose which vowel to use. So here was like a word to picture match. You or the child will cut out the words, and the pictures are stationary, and you would have the child read the word and then find the spot. Here is word to picture match again. So this is just a kind of an on-paper version. And here we have secret messages. So these are kind of neat. So so normally where this would be a folded piece of paper in a basket in a Montessori classroom, this is kind of a lift the flap one at a time to read the sentence, so the child can really focus on one phrase or one sentence at a time as he reads. Now, if this gets too distracting, if you're using it inside the workbook, I would definitely suggest using like a thick piece of white paper behind so the child doesn't get distracted by the next page. So just a little tip. And then you can close it and read it, and then when you flip it over, you use these same flaps on the other side to do the follow the command. So step up, the child would read the command and do the command, and then close it up, do the next one, smell a jar of jam. So you may need to adjust depending on what's in your home or your classroom, but I would suggest reading them ahead of time to see if there's something you could do to prepare. But it's usually things that especially if you're in the home doing this, that you would be able to do most, if not all of those activities with just random things around your house. Now we have a scavenger hunt bingo. These are not all necessarily blue reading words. I'm more focused on the blend. Like for example, smile this would be a long I. So you'd find this in your green reading material, which we're not there yet, but there's a picture to go along with it. So you can ask what the child, what he or she thinks it says. Same thing with like the ER, is a green reading sound. Stare is a green reading, but just help your child read. Star, same thing there. Help your child read the words and associate them with the pictures. And then it's just a scavenger hunt around your house or around your classroom. Can you find a sticker? Can you find a ball? Can you find a stare? And you can play this however you like. I had the intention of having everybody just fill everything out, and then some copy work, choose 3 words to copy down below. Here we have word writing, and the children will, the control of error is on the back, but you would just have your child use the movable alphabet to write the word stem, to write the word small, to write the word bass, to write the word stick, and then check the spelling. If the spelling's correct, then the child can write them. This would easily be adapted to shelf work. Now here we just have some rhyming, some reading lists. So some of these will be rhyming, some of them will just be focusing on the blends. These you can cut out individually. Let's see if I can find one not done. Grammar. Here we go. So you can cut the lists, or you can cut the individual words and have the child put them in the proper, put them on the proper part of the list. Put them in the proper list. So this is where the words came from. Now we have compose a story. So the student will use the metal insets or stencils to draw a picture using the prompt, and then write using the movable alphabet, and then copying it by hand. Or if the child's ready, they can just go straight to copying the story, just writing the story directly. Now we have an independent reader at the end of these sections, and the independent reader you just cut out and staple in order. Fold it and staple it. There is room in each one if the child wants to illustrate the book and keep it. So again, if you're using this in the classroom, this may be a book that your child could take home after he or she illustrates it, or after he or she reads it, and go home and read it to their parents. So that's a fun little take-home activity. Before that, I must have missed it, but there's also this blue booklet. So these are just, again, cut out and stapled together. You read the word and the matching picture. The pages are numbered to help you figure out how to staple it together. So stack. And if you print enough of these, your child could take it home if you're in a classroom. But I would suggest keeping these for review because you'll have several of them by the end of the workbook. So here's another example of a blue reading little booklet. Another story, and then another book. And then also, before we finish our video, so those repeat for all different consonant blends, but this year in this workbook, we are starting grammar. So we start with the nouns. We have farm labeling activities, which I would suggest pulling out of the workbook and keeping in a bag all of the animals and noun cards and adjective cards. And there's a picture of that in the listing of the book, but we have other activities in here as well. So you will be teaching the child symbols. You will be labeling items at home or in the classroom. We go over singular and plural. These get cut out and sorted with the different cards. Let's see. We're learning about the article, when to use a and an, when to use the symbol, and then the farm activity. So every time you learn a new part of speech, then we're learning 4 in the Blue Series workbook, it will, you'll have a farm activity. So you go back to this farm page, you go back to your animals, and you go back to the whatever other cards, like these are the noun cards for the farm. So you keep them all probably more organized than I have them here in that little envelope, but however you'd like to organize them, I would suggest keeping them. And again, this is a word building mat. You want to use the movable alphabet or your own, and then the activities repeat. So I'll just show you the verbs. Where'd they go? So yeah, so you have some verb work, the adjective work. I do bring in the detective triangle adjective game. So you'll have some fun things to do there. Yeah. All right. Enjoy. Thanks for watching.